In Western Europe, there's a country born from fierce resistance to Muslim invaders who arrived centuries ago. Portugal went on to be a trailblazer in many historical firsts, refusing to be absorbed by its neighbors. Driven by this spirit, they sailed along Africa's coast, reaching India and beyond, igniting the age of exploration. They built a mighty empire that endured, until internal strife and uprisings shattered the peace. This is the incredible story of Portugal. The Iberian Peninsula was once home to various distinct tribal groups. Ancient Greeks and Phoenicians established bustling trading outposts throughout the region, and from these hubs, Phoenician journeys commenced along the Algarve's picturesque coastline. As these early connections faded, the area became a focal point for the dominant powers of that era. The Carthaginians seized control of parts of Iberia before intense conflicts erupted with the Romans. Rome had risen to become the supreme power in the Mediterranean and launched an invasion of the Iberian Peninsula. During their struggle against Carthage in the Second Punic War, provoked by raids originating from western Iberia, they expanded their territory, but faced formidable opposition from the Lusitanians and other Indo-European peoples. The Lusitani waged war for decades. Under the leadership of Ariatus, the Lusitanians mounted a courageous and unyielding campaign against the Romans, engaging numerous legions and acclaimed generals, inflicting a series of embarrassing defeats upon them. Their victories were short-lived, however, as the Romans ultimately triumphed after his passing. The Iberian Peninsula was fully brought into the Roman sphere of influence. Numerous Roman cities sprung up from earlier Iron Age settlements, including Lisbon, Porto, and Coimbra, while cities like Braga were actually founded by the Romans themselves. As the Roman Empire began to weaken, several Germanic tribes surged into the peninsula and eventually established a series of short-lived kingdoms. The Suebi managed to solidify their presence in the region, establishing their capital in Braga, while most of Iberia fell under the dominion of the Visigoths. Eventually, the Visigoths conquered the Suebi kingdom, bringing all of Iberia under their rule. The Visigoths adopted Catholicism, and their societal structure wasn't drastically different from what came before, though at its core, it was a warrior-based society. By the late 7th century, the kingdom was hit by famine and widespread disease, leading to massive casualties, economic hardship, and severe labor shortages. Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean, a new power had rapidly emerged from North Africa, the Umayyad Caliphate. At this critical juncture, the Visigothic kingdom was internally fragile and politically unstable. It was ruled by King Roderick, who had recently claimed the throne. In 711, a Berber general named Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar with 7,000 soldiers without encountering resistance. While Roderick was occupied with suppressing a Basque uprising, Tariq began plundering Visigothic cities. King Roderick then gathered his forces and marched south. The two armies clashed at the Battle of Guadalete, and the Visigoths suffered a crushing defeat. The subsequent 6 years witnessed the near-complete conquest of the peninsula. Some Visigoths sought refuge to the north in the Christian kingdom of Asturias, shielded by its rugged mountains, and this became a center of resistance against the Muslim invaders. The Muslims referred to their new territory in Iberia as Al-Andalus, and it flourished as a center of intellectual and scientific advancement. While many Jews, Muslims, and Christians coexisted, those who didn't follow Islam were considered second-class citizens and were required to pay a substantial tax called the jizya. When the Umayyad dynasty was overthrown and succeeded by the Abbasids, a young prince managed to flee and find sanctuary. This prince was Abdul Rahman, and in the city of Cordoba, he declared himself the emir of an independent Umayyad state. Over time, the emirate weakened and eventually fragmented into several smaller, independent states. Christians within Asturias grew increasingly bold in their military actions, and numerous Christian kingdoms began to emerge. Many ambitious Christian princes and knights were called upon from across Europe to assist in the struggle against the Moors, an era known as the Reconquista or the Reconquest. During this period, Alfonso VI of Leon invited a Burgundian knight named Henry to his court, and he became the Count of Portugal after marrying Alfonso's illegitimate daughter, Teresa. Eventually, Henry's son, Alfonso Henriquez, declared himself Prince of Portugal following a dispute with his mother, and soon after, he ascended to the throne as king. Meanwhile, a new wave of Berber invaders, known as the Almoravids, subjugated the various emirs to establish their own ruling dynasty, who were later replaced by the Almohads. Fueled by a desire for liberation, several Portuguese kings continued the fight against the Moors until the Algarve region was finally conquered, securing Portuguese sovereignty. However, they still had to contend with their most powerful Christian neighbor, Castile, who at this time were still occupied with their own conflicts. After the passing of King Fernando, Portugal faced a severe succession crisis. King Fernando's half-brother, João I, the illegitimate son of Pedro I, Fernando's predecessor, assumed de facto control of Lisbon. King John of Castile invaded Portugal to assert his claim to the throne, and the two monarchs met on the battlefield. One of the most pivotal battles in Portugal's history unfolded at the Battle of Aljubarrota. The Portuguese army, estimated to be around 7,000 strong, strategically occupied defensive positions on a nearby ridge, preparing to confront the Castilian forces, which numbered possibly 20,000 troops. In a battle that lasted less than an hour, it is said that John's army was completely routed, the invading forces disintegrated, and Juan's campaign ended in failure. Shortly after the battle, a crucial alliance was forged with England through the Treaty of Windsor, establishing strong ties that endure to this day, making it the world's oldest continuous alliance. With Portugal's independence firmly re-established, the dawn of Portuguese expansion and empire could begin. It was in 1415 that the capture of Ceuta took place, a formidable Islamic stronghold in the Mediterranean that had just fallen. Soon after this significant victory, João's son, Prince Henrique of Portugal, also known as Prince Henry the Navigator, began funding numerous expeditions to explore the African coastline. The Portuguese had developed and innovated small vessels known as caravels, equipped with triangular sails that could sail against the wind in a zigzag pattern, enabling much faster journeys. Explorers journeyed to the Congo River under the command of Diogo Chao, South Africa with Bartolomeu Dias, India led by Vasco da Gama, Brazil captained by Pedro Alvarez Cabral, and Japan by Antonio da Mota, each meticulously charting new parts of the world, one voyage at a time. Not long after Christopher Columbus's groundbreaking voyage to the Americas, Spain embarked on its own era of exploration and began formulating ambitions for building an empire. A treaty was subsequently signed between Spain and Portugal, designed to resolve disputes over newly discovered territories. Unlike its neighbor, Portugal faced a significant shortage of manpower, with a population of less than 2 million. Nevertheless, they focused on building an empire not based on vast territorial control, but on trade. They established military outposts and trading stations not only for commerce, but also to engage in various conflicts against their rivals. These rivals were primarily the Ottoman Empire and its allies, who frequently vied for dominance in the spice trade within the Indian Ocean, where numerous trading posts had been established. While their empire may have been responsible for misdeeds, such as initiating the transatlantic slave trade, it was generally considered less brutal compared to other colonial powers. The colonization of lands also led to the widespread adoption of their language. Today, Portuguese is the sixth most spoken language globally, with over 250 million speakers worldwide. Portugal was once again plunged into political chaos following the death of King Sebastian. He had embarked on a military campaign in Africa, but tragically left no direct heirs to succeed him upon his death. Amidst this dynastic crisis, King Philip II of Spain invaded Portugal, leading to the formation of a personal union, the Iberian Union, which merged the crowns of Spain and Portugal. Portugal initially maintained its status as an independent state under the first few Spanish monarchs, until King Philip IV downgraded Portugal to a province of Spain and removed Portuguese nobles from positions of influence. It was during this period of union that other European powers began to seize Portugal's colonies, most notably the Dutch, who took over the lucrative spice trade and attempted to annex Brazil. The loss of these valuable colonies enraged many in Portugal, and the Portuguese Restoration War commenced, led by João IV, who successfully regained independence for the nation. In the 18th century, Portugal experienced one of history's most devastating earthquakes. It struck the city of Lisbon with an estimated magnitude ranging from 8.5 to 9 on the Richter scale, resulting in the deaths of 10,000 to 100,000 inhabitants. Many were forced to seek shelter in temporary tenant camps. The royal court joined its people in this hardship, and once the chaos subsided, Portugal experienced unrest, igniting the Portuguese War of Restoration under João IV's leadership, successfully reclaiming sovereignty. The 18th century brought a devastating earthquake to Portugal, striking Lisbon with immense force. This seismic event registered between 8.5 and 9 on the Richter scale, claiming anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 lives. Many survivors had no choice but to camp out, seeking refuge in tents. The royal family joined their citizens in this makeshift city. Once the immediate crisis subsided, Queen Maria I of Portugal commissioned the Royal Ajuda Palace, built right on this spot. Prime Minister Sebastião de Mello survived the devastating earthquake, and when asked about the next steps, he famously stated, "Bury the dead and feed the living."